I do have some slides, and my theme is how can we get a healthy Eurozone? Well, we can get a healthy Eurozone if you have a close look at this saying made by John F. Kennedy. He said, "The time to repair a roof is when the sun is shining." This is a very, very important saying by the late John F. Kennedy. Why? First of all, there is a need for action. Here it says to repair. So there is a need for action. We have to act. We have to do something. That's one. And two, you have to act at the right moment. And when you repair a roof, do it when the sun is shining. So keep in mind everything what is said this morning, but especially this saying by John F. Kennedy. The time to repair a roof is when the sun is shining. Repairing during the right moment. What are the problems in the Eurozone? Well, the euro was not a monetary choice, it was a political choice. It was an agreement between France and Germany, and it was the ultimate federalist dream to have one monetary union, and this deal was made on political reasons. Therefore, the difficulties or the possible weaknesses were overseen or were put under the table. They were neglected. And you could imagine what these difficulties could be. Well, first of all, rules of entry. Nobody discussed really the rules of entry, and they were not really properly applied. For instance, take Greece. Greece entered the Eurozone, and it made a forgery with Goldman Sachs. You know, that is where Mr. Barroso was working now, and they trickered the Greece people into the Eurozone. And then you see, of course, the difficulties, the great difficulties between strong Eurozone countries, such as the Netherlands and Germany, and the most weakest one, like Greece, Spain, and Portugal. So, economical choices, difficulties from day one. Well, what you see, the year 2009 was, of course, a very important year. And what we discussed this morning in the ECR group, you also saw when the crisis was there. The answer to the crisis was more Europe, just more Europe. In 2-pack, 6-pack, 10-pack, I don't know how many packs. I always thought it was beer, but no, it seemed to be some sort of a pack to make a solution to the Eurozone problems. Well, forget it. We are really now in big trouble with Mr. Draghi funding and financing even dubious obligations made by debtors. So we are really now in big trouble. No framework, no exit possibility, no compliance, especially no compliance. You've seen the problems with Spain and Portugal. They were once more forgiven their budgetary sins, and they do not need to comply. So we have a set of rules that are not enforced at all. So problems, problems, problems. And to add one more, you know, of course, the bailout clause, we have that, but the bailout clause didn't work. The bailout clause says, well, when you are in difficulties, you have to solve it yourself. Well, in no time, everybody was helping everybody, and the whole thing went down in great monetary difficulties we are facing now. And it is all dominated by politics, and that's a difficulty. Even Mr. Draghi, he's a politician himself, one of the 5 presidents who made a plan to have more and more Europe. So the Eurozone is really in deep shit. Well, what could be maybe to have solutions? I will step to the solutions. Forget it, the euro crisis is not over. We are now under a fire blanket, but the fire is still there. The blanket didn't work, and the great difficulty is when the fire will come up again so huge that we all will face it. It could happen tomorrow. it could happen in a month when the Greek crisis is fully back on stage, or maybe other crises like Spain and Portugal, and of course the most difficult country in the Eurozone, which is France. Because the real sick man of the Eurozone is France. And France is politically married to Germany, and they take one's hand and try to help one another. But the real reforms should be made in France. And you know already France did not meet the obligations of the Stability and Growth Pact already 11 times. So France is really the sick man of Europe. So it's really difficult to say what should be the solutions. I think one solution should be we need exit and exit criteria. They are not foreseen in the monetary union because nobody thought that there could be a day that a country might leave. Well, you've seen the political leave of the UK and the Brexit, but we also need exit criteria in the Eurozone. And I think it's vital, for instance, that we discuss it now. We have to repair the roof now, since we are in difficulties with Greece. Greece, I think, would be better off outside the Eurozone with a partly reduction of their debts and with their own drachma to restart the economy, to restart export, but they cannot since we have no exit criteria. So we need them. And then we should also look at the stability and growth criteria. They are very difficult and very difficult to understand, and the sanctions are not very well monitored and affected, so that's point 2 for the solution. Then enforcement of the debts. I already mentioned Spain and Portugal, but also France. You can go on, you can do whatever you like. Sanctions, that's the word the Eurozone doesn't know. So we should stop that. And we should also stop the obligation that an EU member state should join the European Monetary Union, and we should reconfirm the bailout clause. I think these are ways towards a solution, but mind you, the big difficulty is we are not here doing monetary politics, we are doing politics, and that means that the Eurozone probably will be in danger for many, many years to come. Thank you very much.